Hey everyone, it's Courtney. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey on hormones. So if you like this video, make sure you click the like button as well as subscribe to my channel. So I began my hormonal treatment back in November of 2017. I made an appointment with my physician, and several of my friends had used her, and my therapist that I was seeing at the time also recommended her, so I felt comfortable going to her. So when I got there, I filled out all the normal paperwork for a new patient. And then when I was waiting on the physician to come in, I was also presented with a form of informed consent, meaning that they've given me all the education about the possible risk of taking estradiol and starting my hormonal treatment. So after reading that thoroughly and signing it, I also asked the physician many questions that day. At the end of the day, she gave me the prescription to go and have estradiol and Spiro filled at my local pharmacy. So I remember going and picking up my meds, and I remember as soon as I saw the little blue tablet of estradiol, my heart was racing, my mind was totally going crazy because I had been waiting all this time to start my treatment, and so I was super excited. And I remember, this is going to sound kind of psychosomatic, but for a lot of you people that are also on the same journey, you may be able to relate to this. So I just remember as soon as I took that first little blue tab, that my mind was just saying, you know what, Courtney, thank you. Thank you so much for after all these years, finally getting it right. And so I also remember after taking it, I don't know, it was one of those things oh my gosh, what's gonna happen now? And I remember being really excited. And so I was supposed to take one in the morning, one in the evening, and for I guess 3 months until I go back to see my physician. And anyway, I just remember taking it and like I said, finally feeling connected. And I also remember taking the Spiro, which I had done research on prior to as well. And the Spiro is basically to lower the testosterone levels to help with the feminization process. So I also remember there's a lot of negative talk about the Spiro. And so I didn't want to be on the Spiro for a long time. I just wanted to get my testosterone levels down to where my estrogen levels would come up, and then get off of it, because it can cause brain fog among various things, and that was one of the things I did not want to feel or experience. So I remember after being on my medication for a couple of weeks, I remember going through basically menopause. And it was funny because all of a sudden I started getting all these hot sweats and night sweats, and just being very moody. My hormone levels were kind of going up and down, and they were kind of fighting each other, I guess. And also, some of the bloatiness, some of the crabbiness, just depressed feeling, wanting to eat everything. So just different things, no flow, obviously, because it's not possible. But anyway, I just remember being on that for almost 3 months, and my breasts started to, I guess, form. They started to bud, so to speak. And I remember oh my gosh, it was so painful. It was very painful because the wind could blow the wrong way, and I just would double over because it hurt. It was just they were very sensitive. So anyway, I remember after about 3 months of being on my medication, I was supposed to get my labs done, And so I went and had my labs drawn, and I got the results back whenever I went to see my physician again, and I was a little shocked. I was a little, I guess, depressed, because, you know, like anything, like when you start something, you're super excited about it and you want the changes to come like overnight. And I remember looking at my estrogen levels, and they were really low. I'm not going to give you numbers or anything like that, because everyone's body is different, and so, you know, your levels may be fine for you at that. Mine wasn't. I wasn't wanting mine to be this low. And so I remember seeing that like my testosterone levels were coming down, which I was very happy with, but at the same time my estrogen level was just very low for what I wanted. And I remember it was in range for a normal female for my age. And so I remember discussing with my physician, and she was like, yeah, Courtney, this is great. It's like normal, your age, given your age, and these levels are like normal for a postmenopausal woman. I was like, wait. I'm not here to be postmenopausal, doc, okay? So I asked for her to increase my dosage, which she did. And my other labs were pristine. They were pretty much textbook. So there wasn't any issue to increase my dosage. And so we increased my dosage, and the breasts continued to form, atrophy in the testes and things like that began to occur, and my testosterone level continued to drop, which I was super happy about, but I wasn't noticing quite as much feminization as what I thought I would see. But again, you know what, it's a process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, so if you think that, you might as well be ready to be disappointed. So anyway, I went back another 3 months. I went back, and my labs were pretty much the same. Even with the increased dosage, very little change as far as my estrogen levels. And so I was a little disappointed, but I knew there was other options. I knew there was creams. I knew that there was the pills, which I was on. I also knew that there was injections. And I hate needles. So I'm not really big on injections. So again, I asked for my dosage to be increased. And so we did. We increased it one more time. And then, you know, things continued. I did start seeing like some changes in my face. Not severe changes, but just a little bit difference in the softness of my skin. Just some of the different changes like around my cheeks, little things. And so for me, you know, I wanted to see more change. And so I just remember my mood swings were still kind of like up and down. Some days were good, some days weren't. And because I was on the pill, I was taking the pill every single day. And so it did help to kind of keep levels kind of the same, but still you would fluctuate. Some days you were higher than others and things like that. So with that being said, I knew that like my body started to adjust to the medication. And I remember having my regular doctor physical, and he was concerned that my testosterone was dropping too fast. And so I assured him, like, nope, doc, we're on that path to get it to drop as low as possible, because I'm transitioning from male to female. So I kind of had to enlighten him on the journey and the process, and share my prescription information with him so he could communicate with my other physician. And so that way I was just really like all around care, right? And so I remember it was August of 2018, and I remember going back to my physician for my hormones, and I remember that my estrogen levels were still postmenopausal. And so I was really getting depressed with this. I was like, what is going on? How come it's not higher? And, you know, I felt decent, but it's just, you know, I was hooked on the numbers and thinking that it needed to be higher and things like that. And, you know, after doing research and talking to other girls and everything, and even looking at the WPATH protocol, mine were considerably low. For the WPATH standards, you can Google that, WPATH, and it'll give you kind of like the ranges you should be in, which for male to female, for estrogen levels, they look for around 300 to 500 for the numbers. And so I was way below that. I wasn't even at 100. And so anyway, I remember asking my physician if we could switch to injections. And so she said yes. And she asked me, had I ever given myself an injection? And I said no. She's like, okay, well, I'm going to get you to fill your prescription. You're going to come in and we're going to teach you how to inject yourself and make sure you're doing it properly so you don't mess things up or possibly kill yourself, right? So anyway, I remember going in and having my medication and my syringes and things like that, and the nurse pretty much walked me through the process, and then she had me give myself my injection. And I just remember being so nervous. My hands were shaking because, like I said, I hate needles. I had a fear of needles since I was like 12 years old, and the thought of a needle, even if it's not going in me, just makes me shake. And so anyway, she taught me how to do it. I did it. And then each week thereafter, I began giving myself an injection. And so, again, 3 months passes. Some of my breast tissue began to grow a little bit more. We're almost to the 1 year mark on my hormones. So there has been like some changes. Some of my muscle mass had decreased. Half of it maybe hormones, half of it because I chose not to work out a lot. And even if I did work out, I didn't want to lift heavy. And so anyway, I just remember like going back, and I went back at my 1 year doctor's appointment, and I'd had my labs drawn the week before, and I had it drawn at their lowest point. So if I was injecting myself on Thursday, I would have my labs done on that Wednesday when it was at my lowest point. And then that way, just to kind of see where they are baseline, right? And so I went in and they were like way up. Like I was like super happy. My physician was a little concerned. She was like, okay, you know, we probably need to get this down just a little bit. And so I listened to her advice, and so we backed it down just a little bit, but I was really happy that my body was starting to absorb the estrogen and my numbers were coming up. And I will say that because I'm only injecting myself once a week, I could totally tell like when my hormones would start to drop. And so like usually that Monday or Tuesday after my injection, then I could tell that I would start to get a little bit moody or a little bit crabby, or I'd start craving different things, anything from sweetness to saltiness and things like that. And so I just remember, you know, that was how I knew that my injection was coming up. And so anyway, I kept the same dosage. I haven't adjusted anything for the last 2 years on it, or a year and a half, whatever. And so anyway, I will say that my breast tissue continued to develop. The testes have shrank to a very, I guess, minute size or whatever. Sorry if it's too much information. But these are some of the things that you can experience when you're going from male to female and you're using hormones. So you really need to know this. And so anyway, I will say that overall, I've been very pleased with the outcomes. My testosterone level is almost nil. It's very, very low. It's probably lower than most cisgender women. Cisgender meaning relates to the sex that they were born with. So anyway, I've been very happy with that. And because of that, for different organizations, it's also allowed me to compete as a female in their organization. The International Olympic Committee states that it has to be below a certain level, and it has to be that way for over a year to be able to compete in women's sports. So mine is way below the level. I know I've had a few people reach out and ask, like, you know, do you feel like this is an unfair advantage or not? Anyway, I'm just going by the rules, and I don't feel like it's unfair, especially for the type of competitions that I do. It's more of a beauty pageant, so, you know, if it was maybe a lifting competition or something like that, you know, maybe there could be some question or whatnot due to bone mass or whatnot, but at the same time, yeah, I don't really feel like it's an unfair advantage. I feel like I've had to work twice as hard to get my levels down to that amount, as well as increase muscle and just the overall feminization technique in certain areas. So anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about, because this video went a lot longer than what I thought it would be. But anyway, stay tuned. I'm going to continue to take you on my journey. Next video, I'm not sure what we'll discuss. It could be my breast augmentation surgery. You know, I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll keep you posted, and thank you so much for following me on my journey, and I love you all. Peace.